Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show. It's live on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. We're delighted that you are with us. Our sponsors, Indigo Communications, our pundits, Alan Ruff and Hugh McDonald, alongside myself, Peter Martin, and you as well. Thank you very much to each and every one of you for joining us on our YouTube channel, and thanks to so many of you now starting to subscribe and of course watch us on a regular basis. We're on Monday to Friday live at 4 o'clock, and if you can't catch us live, you can always download the PLZ Soccer app. It gives you all the breaking news stories, keeps you up to date with Scottish, English, European and world football, and of course you can watch the football show at your own leisure. So there you are. I've done all the PR stuff that I possibly can. Tonight we've got a little competition. I'll be giving you details of how you can actually join us at Social Recluse. We've teamed up with the shop in Glasgow in King Street. It makes great retro gear and of course football stuff as well, and we're going to be going there to a little night of entertainment, Ruffy, where Bob Chambers and his team will have specially invited guests, and hopefully we'll get two of our fans along as well.
Yeah, looking forward to it. I always look forward to outside broadcasts, and you always get a good bit of banter. It's always nice to see the people watch the show and listen in and have a bit of banter with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Good. I think a lot of people like to come up and see you because you've got that kind of a nice persona, which is great. Not quite the same for me, Hugh. I think you're slightly better than me. Cowan is just a loose cannon, so that'll be good. I think a lot. And of course, McManus, McManus is a bit Marmite, isn't he?
Aye, but I think McManus is great because I mean, I hope he's not watching because I'm going to praise him, but he just puts it out there and he says, and that's what it is, he gives his opinion, that's
Absolutely. He's one of our cheeky chappies, so he'll be along as well. So it'll be a really good night. Looking forward to it. Still negotiating with Ruffy. He wants a car to pick him up and various other things, meal and, the brown M&Ms taken out of the sweetie packet. So we'll see if we can accommodate him. Anyway, apart from anything else, lots to talk about tonight. Some of it is to celebrate in football and some of it is difficult to talk about, but we will discuss the transfers. The high is, of course, Aaron Ramsey for Rangers fans because that's certainly the eye-catching transfer of the window, Ruffy.
It's a wonderful signing. I think it took us all by surprise. You know, he's an international player. You know, obviously the amount of money that to go to Juventus and for Juventus to identify, you know, that quality of player. Okay, he's not played many games. He's had injuries, but any time he's played for Wales and not Juventus, he's been sensational and scoring goals. So the Rangers support must be, the old saying, over the moon by that signing. It used to be Celtic that would pull in one of these marquee signings, but they've went their business the other way. So, you know, we all love seeing quality players playing in our league. You know, we saw Paul Gascoigne, who lit up our league, and I'm sure he will as well.
It's interesting you mentioning that. I mean, I've heard a few sports channels mentioning the impact of Gaza. It's nowhere near Gaza. I mean, no. Gaza was absolutely, you know, for me at one point, world class. Ramsey is a really good signing of where we are in Scottish football. I think he's a level above a number of players in our division.
Yeah, he is. I mean, Ramsey is very best, was world class as well.
I think so?
He's very, very best. I think he was. Well, maybe if it all depends how but maybe even just that notch a bit. But I watched him and Bale terrorise Scotland at Hampden once. I think it was it was Gordon Strachan's first match as manager, and Scotland were trying to play a hoot for the back, which is obviously a Gordon kind of dictate. And I mean, Ramsey and Bale were just terrorising him. So I think he's a really good player at his top. Is he the player that he once was? Well, we'll find out, won't we? I mean, he's played, less than 50 games in 3 seasons.
Yeah, he hasn't played a lot since October. And he won't play tomorrow night.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a wise move. I mean, you wouldn't want to, if he's going to have to get up to match speed, and if you're trying to get up to match speed, throwing yourself into a Glasgow derby is not the way to go about it.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of Rangers fans were out there at Ibrox watching him arrive, Ruffy, and I think once he gets up to speed, if he can avoid injury, what a huge bonus they'll have in the middle of the park.
Yes, and I'm sure the Rangers supporters will be anxious to see what that midfield's going to look like. You know, obviously the new manager likes two wide people. You know, we know Aribo's in the middle, and will it be him? You know, because there's certainly other people who can come in there, but certainly that middle four looks very, very good.
Yeah, absolutely. Won't be available, he admitted it himself, for the game against Celtic at Celtic Park. We'll be discussing that game in greater detail very shortly. Of the transfer window, I think the one that's caused, well, certainly the greatest amount of comment, and we're certainly not going to duck the issue on this, is David Goodwillie signing for Raith Rovers, 32 years of age. And the situation here is both he and another footballer, David Robertson, were accused of rape in 2011, Hugh. They never faced a criminal trial. There wasn't enough evidence to get it over the line for a conviction. But in the civil case, a judge ruled that the pair were rapists and ordered them to pay £100,000 in damages. And I think the civil proceedings, the burden of proof is on the balance of probabilities, and where it ends, you have a situation where that stain is on his character. Now, it has been there for a long time, and even when he signed for Clyde, David Goodwillie, it was a divisive signing. It caused a fair bit of consternation, but maybe not with as many fans. But at Raith Rovers, we have a situation where they're sponsored by Val McDermott, the crime writer. She has now ended her association with Raith Rovers and the sponsorship. We've even got the female club captain has terminated her contract with the club.
Supporter liaison officer's gone, 2 board members gone as well.
Yes, they've taken a strong stance on this, Hugh. It's a difficult one now because I would suggest to you that they did have a board meeting to look at this situation. And obviously, where the majority said, you know, we know what's coming, we're going to have to take it on when you sign them.
Yeah, and they did know what was coming because Val McDermott had made it clear well in advance that, you know, that she was very much opposed to this. Now, if people are wondering, well, what does it matter what Val McDermott thinks, whatever? She's a major sponsor behind the club. One of the stands, the big news stand, is the McDermott stand. It's got a plaque underneath it, which is a plaque to her father. Her father was the scout that brought Jim Baxter to Raith Rovers.
Yeah.
People might remember that famous name. So very strong family ties to it, very strong financial ties. She's always been very supportive. They would know what was coming. Whether they realise just quite the storm that they're in at the moment, I don't know. But there was no excuse for them not knowing the storm, Peter.
Yeah.
Now, the Goodwillie situation is that the only reason he was at Clyde was because of this the civil case and the Lord, judge, adjudicating on the probabilities that he did indeed rape this poor girl. So that's the only reason he was there, because you could go along and watch him, and you're saying he's not a League Two player.
No.
You know, he's not. I mean, this guy's not a league. This guy's an ex-Scotland centre forward. So people in football must have been looking at a time saying, who's going to make this jump? Who's going to say, you know, we'll take him? And Raith Rovers have made the jump.
Yeah, but here's the problem with it. John McGlynn, and this is the debate. I'll ask you this question, Ruffy, because it's a sensitive topic. But John McGlynn has said, you know, he's a proven goal scorer. He's worked with him before. And, you know, that's why he's obviously decided to bring him in, and the board have discussed it, as we mentioned there. I wonder if the balance of hassle was worth it for a guy who's 32.
Yeah, I think you touched on the right bit about it. It's the board that makes the decision. The board's got to look at the big picture with the club. You know, they've got to look at the reaction of the supporters to keep all the supporters on board, sponsors on board. Most professional teams now have women's teams. You know, in our club it's very, very high. We support our women. You know, so you've got to take all these considerations in. Who are you upsetting by this signing? We all know he's a good player and he will score goals. So the board have got to make the decision if they go for it or not, and time will tell. The only thing is we all know in football, in 2 months' time we won't be talking about this.
No, but the problem here is, I think going back causes a stir. I think if they go backwards, it causes a stir.
Well, they're done. They're heading
the boy.
They're heading. I mean, if they go back, there's obviously got presumably there's some legal agreement in place with Goodwillie anyway, whether it's just the statutory contract.
Yeah.
I mean, if they've signed him, he's signed something, hasn't he? So there was such good. I mean, as a football decision, they're obviously looking and saying, if you look at that division, I've saw quite a lot of that division, not as much as Ruffy has this season, but really there's not much between the teams. I think Kilmarnock are gearing up for a bit of run because they've got McManus in, etc. But if Raith Rovers were scoring a lot of goals, you could say, they're a viable contender for direct promotion. So on a pure football situation, you can see why they're doing it. Of course, it's not a pure football situation. It has this considerable cultural, social legacy to it that has to be addressed.
Yeah, I think having covered Raith Rovers, I mean, I started out many years ago in Radio Borders, but when I moved to Radio Forth, Dunfermline, Raith Rovers, Hibs and Hearts was my patch. And Jimmy Nicholl was the manager there, and I know the club, and it's always been that kind of a family club. So I can understand the real consternation and anger from people, and especially as you mentioned there, Ruffy, I think is a good point that there are, whether there was a women's team there or not, it is for many too difficult to actually comprehend that they would go down that road with someone who has had to pay out a substantial amount of money and been involved in something which was a terrible ordeal for the girl in question. So I wonder if it was the right thing for the other directors to go and take the hassle at this point for a 32-year-old. What's happened now is it's drawn, in essence, it's drawn a line in the history books that they've gone down this road. And I think if anything, it upsets families as well, knowing that it's slightly tarnished their reputation for me, Hugh, and I am not judge and jury on David Goodwillie, the rights and wrongs. I think as a footballer, the big question after this is, what do you do after it? Can you earn a living anywhere, or should you be totally and utterly ostracised from society? Are you allowed to earn a living?
That's a point. I mean, first of all, I think the reputation has been tarnished, and I think once you've got that kind of degree of resignation, you've got very important figures at the club going in, not important perhaps in money terms, but captain your women's team, supporter liaison, a couple of board members, one of the great sponsors, maybe the most famous fan, probably the most famous fan, all going. That harms you. I'll be interested to see if Gordon Brown, the former Labour leader, contributes to this debate as well. So that's one side. The other side is, what does in a personal sense, what does David Goodwillie do? What is the sanction on David Goodwillie? People say, well, he should never be allowed to play football again. And you say, well, what can he do then? Is it all right if he becomes a bin man? Do you think that's okay? Is it all right if he takes up a trade? I mean, why would you not allow him to be a footballer? Why would that be the thing that you would be hitting? And I haven't got an easy answer for any of that. But I don't, the sort of blanket ban saying, well, there can be no, he can't pursue his trade, which is his trade because of a civil case. It's very dangerous ground, and I know that people will say yes, but there's no chance of rehabilitation because he hasn't said, that, admitted to this offence, etc., etc. But his point of view will be, I haven't admitted to it because I don't think there's anything to admit to. Yeah. So you're getting into a real nuanced, heavy debate here, which really very difficult to talk about in, briefly in a football show.
Yeah, absolutely, and you can tell by the look of fear on Ruffy's face as we're talking about it, because it is such a sensitive topic. But we've dealt with it. I don't think there is a need to make any kind of proclamation on innocence or guilt. We've discussed, the pitfalls of what Raith Rovers have done. They're going to have to live with it now, how they engineer their way through. And the other aspect of this is David Goodwillie still has to take to the field with a Raith Rovers top on, and that brings about a whole other batch of problems. Okay, don't forget, if you want to, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, PLZ Soccer. You can also hit the bell and you'll get all the notifications. And as we often say, and I like to reiterate this from time to time, much to the annoyance of people who haven't got a brain, but if you want to and you get slightly disturbed by some of the messages that come down in the live chat, you can actually take the live chat away and just watch the programme and enjoy it. And that prevents you from getting slightly upset with people who clearly have no morals whatsoever and mention things which are upsetting. The 95 to 99% of the people who watch the programme and get involved in the live chat are thoroughly decent people who love their football. But every now and then I like to apologise for some of them who just cannot put a comment up which is decent at all. That's me said my piece on that, because quite simply the reason I've mentioned that is because Celtic and Rangers is on the horizon, and usually you get a cesspit of people who just can't go beyond insulting and abusing people, but that's society for you. Now, as far as Celtic and Rangers, it's a big game. There's a lot to talk about. We'll talk about the other derbies, Hibs and Hearts, Dundee and Dundee United. There's Livingston, St Johnstone, Ross County, Aberdeen and St Mirren, Motherwell. So that's the fixtures that we've got to look forward to. Celtic against Rangers is tomorrow. Both managers have been out talking today. Of course, Ange Postecoglou gave us an update on some of the players he might have available.
Yeah, we'll see how he is. He gets in tomorrow morning. So, like I said, he played 20 minutes. I haven't seen the game, and we haven't spoken to him yet. So we'll probably have a chat with him, and then I'll probably have a chat with him tomorrow when he lands and see how he feels. Chance for the squad. Definitely won't start, but chance for the squad. So we'll just see how he is. Tommy will play. He'll play 90 minutes, so you can pretty much rule him out. Cal trained with the team today, but again, not really sure about tomorrow, but I'll make a decision on that later.
Yeah, I was first of all talking about Daisen Maeda, who will be flown in tomorrow morning and maybe get himself a place on the bench. Over and above that, as I suggested to you last week, Callum McGregor, throw a mask on him, an iron mask, you name it. He trained today, Ruffy.
Yeah, if he trained today, obviously he'll be assessed by everybody in the medical side. You know, I didn't hear a definitive of what, if it was a cracked cheekbone or something, you know, but certainly it is a bad injury, you know, and it'll be in the back of his mind if he does play. But if he trains and he's okay, it's a bonus for them, because at this moment in time, obviously, with the Japanese players away and Rogic out and McGregor being out-ish, Turnbull out, you know, they're very limited and they're quality players. So I would think on playing staff, I think Rangers are better organised for this game, but Celtic have the home advantage, and if McGregor does appear, it'll be a boost for everybody. Yeah,
here's a predicted 11. Just have a look. There might be one or two that you disagree with on this. Hearts almost certainly going to be in goal. Juranovic, Carter-Vickers, Starfelt, Taylor, O'Reilly, McGregor, Hatate, Abada, Giacomakis and Jota. Now, there's two that probably could be a real debate there. One for me is whether he goes with Forrest before Abada coming on. Yep. And the other one is whether he goes with Juranovic in the left-back position, Hugh, and Ralston at the right-hand side. What's your take on it?
And even a twist on that, whether he goes Scales at left-back instead of Taylor, because he's taller and more physical.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll do that. The Forrest one's really interesting, Peter, because I'm a great admirer of James Forrest. I think James Forrest, if you take Scott Brown out of the equation, was Celtic's player of the decade that started in 2010, 2011. I think he's been consistently underrated. But the last couple of matches I've watched him, he hasn't been as incisive and decisive as he normally is. But you'd have to look at his pedigree in the Rangers match and say, you know, this is a guy that knows the atmosphere, can do it.
Yeah.
So he's up against Abada, who came on Saturday and scored.
A late winner.
Who has been, without, you know, question, one of the, you know, most dangerous Celtic players in front of goal. I mean, the other thing, just to throw in a madness thing, is he could play both. He could play Abada in the middle and Forest, right? And
Yeah.
play Abad as a front. I don't think he'll do that.
And not play Giacomakis.
And not play Giacomakis.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll do that, but that is an option. But I don't think he'll do that, but that's an option.
I think McGregor walking onto the field is a huge bonus for them. He's by far, as you and I agree, Celtic's best player. They're not at full strength. They don't have the players that they would like to play out there, Ruffy. But would you? I mean, the one thing at the back end of it here is, and it's the flip side of what Rangers have available to them. And I think that if you play Taylor, or I don't think you can play Scales, because Ryan Kent and Diallo, for me, Diallo looks a player. I mean, he looks as if he's going to cause lots of problems.
Yeah, they've got to decide, because he has got pace, same kind of pace as what Celtic have got in their wide positions. So that is something the manager will have to look at. Who's going to deal with that kind of player? Is it going to be Taylor, or is it going to be somebody else? That's a decision they have to make. But you're right when you're saying if McGregor goes onto that park, he gives the midfield the energy. I'm just looking at the Celtic side, and the goal threats seem to be coming for Jota and the other boy. And the centre forward's not really convinced everybody yet. It might be the game that he does convince everybody, but I think there are more goal scoring chances in the Rangers team. So on my opinion, I think Celtic would be happy to get out of this with a draw.
Yeah,
with the amount of players that's missing.
Oh, you've gone early in your prediction, Ruffy. I can't believe you've gone so early. Thanks to Ronnie Chapman, who says, guys, I've just got a new phone, and it's the first time I've seen the show clear.
That's a good thing.
In a good picture. Well, Ronnie seems happy about it all. Thanks to everyone who's obviously giving us their predictions on who they think is going to win this game. It's always difficult to call. So, with that in mind, and looking at the Celtic predicament, now here's the Rangers predicted 11. There's not going to be any Aaron Ramsey in there. I think too early for him, as he admitted himself. But McGregor, Tavernier, Goldson, Bassey and Barisic, then Arfield, Kamara and Aribo, Diallo, Roof and Kent. Now, if I was going to be nitpicking that one, I'd be looking and saying to myself, well, they could spring a surprise in the front line, but the one at the back, for the first time, and I can't remember when, I'm a huge fan of Alan McGregor, but there isn't. Surely he's not going to spring John McLaughlin on everybody in an Old Firm game. I think this is tailor-made for McGregor.
Well, McGregor's pedigree in Old Firm games is Gorham-esque. You know, I mean. No more so than the early games last season. We don't have to go back into the old archives. The early games last season, where Rangers laid down a marker for the league campaign, McGregor made some terrific saves, at crucial times in games. Now, Dutch managers, as you know, Peter, can make very bold sort of changes at times. So I wouldn't rule it completely out, given Van Bronckhorst. Van Bronckhorst has never been the guy to go into a popularity contest. I wouldn't rule it out completely, but I don't see it. I think that Rangers team is pretty much bang on. Yeah,
Larry and a few others have suggested maybe Balogun might come in there, because he played well.
He's a good player.
He played well in one of the last Old Firm games. And Bassey, absolutely superb.
And Bassey's not been good. Let's be honest. Yeah. Bassey hasn't been. But to bring him straight back for that, normally, I would say, it's not inconceivable.
Yeah, the one great thing about going into this match is everybody looks for something that can give them a confidence booster. There's no doubt, even if he's not going to play, the arrival of Aaron Ramsey has given everyone a lift in what is going to be a really tight title race. Here's what Giovanni Van Bronckhorst had to say today about the arrival of Aaron Ramsey. To be able to bring in a player like Aaron is great, and a lot of hard work from Ross Wilson to make it possible. Aaron Ramsey has trained, but it's too soon for him tomorrow, but I expect him in the squad in the near future. We have left this window stronger than we started it. I'm very happy with the new arrivals and not losing any key players, and that again is credit, Ruffy, to the board, who've been able to push the boat out, regardless of what I call the pub arguments that are going on at the moment about who's paying what on Ramsey. Who cares? He's in.
Yeah, and the Rangers, right for the start, have decided this season is the be-all and end-all. They're throwing everything at it. They're doing their best not to lose their best players and try and bring in you know, people who'll challenge for these places, and there's no doubt you can just see the signings, the short-term signings are brought in. It's all about the end of May or whenever the season finishes. That is why these players are all being brought in and why nobody's been let go, because they know the importance of this league title.
Yeah, I'm just looking. I wonder, you know, who you think has been strengthened more in this window. Celtic did their business early, so suddenly, you know, you had Hatate, Ideguchi, Maeda, Johnny Kenny, Matt O'Reilly, and then of course for Rangers you've got James Sands, Cedric Itten's back. Souttar's a pre-contract. They didn't get him in the end, even although there's a suggestion they made a late second bid for him. They've got Diallo on a loan from Man United, Zukowski and Ramsey.
Yep. I think if you say who has strengthened the more, it's Celtic have strengthened the more because they had to strengthen the more.
Yeah.
I mean, they had to address certain things that Rangers didn't have to address. Rangers had a title-winning team. I think one of the real priorities for Rangers was to hang on to players that they had. I think Aribo, holding on to Aribo, because I heard a lot of rumours, you know, about sniffs around him, was crucial. And I don't think they had, they didn't have as much to do with Celtic. The turnaround of Celtic, and no matter what happens this season or no matter what happens in the Derby match, has been quite astonishing, really. I mean, if you look at that team that went up there at the moment, and you say, oh, it's quite a settled Celtic team, you know, and you go, goodness gracious, you know, the vast majority have been brought in, you know, in the last couple of months, and you know, some of them have been brought in the last couple of weeks. When you're talking about O'Reilly, I mean, if you look at that team there, from a team that, you know, a last season team, my goodness, I mean, you know, the back four wasn't basically, apart from Taylor, wasn't there, and midfield Callum McGregor would be the only one, and basically nobody really up front either. Yeah. So you've got Callum McGregor and Greg Taylor as players that are surviving from the old Celtic. So that's been to have that turnaround and to be competitive, and whatever else is going to happen this week, Celtic are competitive in this league. I think it's been quite a remarkable achievement, Peter. Yeah,
I mean, I'm looking at it, Ruffy, and you can look at stats all you want, but it is such a dramatic change, even from the first Old Firm game to where we are now in this. You know, Rangers won the first Old Firm game. Now, suddenly, his team has changed dramatically. The stats are quite simply that in the last 7 games, Rangers haven't been beaten. And even when they lost a game, 7 games ago, we're going back to the League Cup final, where Rangers absolutely battered Celtic, and Julian popped up with the winner. And of course, prior to that, there was a league game at Ibrox where Celtic won it by 2-0 as well. So, you know, Celtic have had the upper hand for a long period of time. Now Rangers' dominance is there. But now we suddenly have the two of them. It's almost like, you know, the Formula One. Suddenly there's somebody contesting the main champion.
I would agree with you 100% if the 5 first-team players were available for selection with Celtic.
Yeah.
You know, because if the 5 of them are out, Celtic definitely aren't at full strength, so Rangers will say, we've got a chance here.
Yeah. What about momentum? Does it count for anything, or does it count? I'm looking at the mentality of Rangers as champions going to Celtic Park. They've been over the course, but they're a wee bit sticky at the moment. That's fine, but they know what to do there. But Celtic are off the back of 5 wins. I'm throwing the stats up at you to eventually get you to your prediction. I'll give mine. You can give yours.
No, I think Rangers will go into this game with a lot of confidence, basically because let's assume McGregor's not playing. Celtic are 5 first-team players down. Rangers have got to go to Parkhead and say, this is an under-strength side. We've got to go there. We're at possibly full strength, apart from the striker. We've got a great chance. But we've saw Old Firm games, you know, like you touched on Alan McGregor making a fantastic save at the right time, and then Rangers winning 1-0 or things like that in these games. Instances happen. The good thing about the Celtic team is there's a lot of them haven't played in this game, so they're not going to be worrying about it. They're not going to have that, we haven't beat Rangers for 7 games.
Well, I think they'll worry about it when they come out of the tunnel.
Yeah, but I laughed. 50,000 Celtic supporters behind you.
I thought O'Reilly was good last week when he was talking about the atmosphere at Hearts was fantastic. I've never played in anything like that before. I say, wait till next week, pal.
Well, I was going to say to you, Hugh, Ruffy's just said, no, I mean, they won't worry with 50,000 Celtic supporters there. Can I just remind you, 59,300 Celtic supporters, because, you know, it's the one thing that annoys the life out of me. I don't know how long do we keep banging on about the fact that they've ruined the Old Firm game? It's no longer, for me, one of the great derbies.
Yeah, because the whole thing about it is to have that kind of call and response, to have that, you know, I mean, the only time it's going to happen, obviously, is in cup games at Hampden.
Yes.
Whether it be semi-finals or finals. That's because I don't see a way back from this, because see a way back from this now, it means blinking. Somebody's got to say, right, you know, and I don't think anybody's going to blink. I think it's almost intractable at the moment.
Oh, you're absolutely right, Hugh. The great thing about it is, and long after you, me and Ruffy are gone,
which is the case of us next season.
I hope not, to be honest with you. But I think people will look back and write down the names in history who've wrecked this, and hopefully I'll be able to actually give them all the names of the people who are to be held to account for killing this game off, because they're petty, small-minded men.
And I'm old enough to go back to the days where it was entire ends that were given over at Celtic and Ibrox to the opposition, to such an extent that in old days it was called, oh, that's the Rangers end, or that's the Celtic end.
Absolutely.
And it was given over. And I think it's, without a doubt, it's pulled the plug on it. There's no question that it's pulled the plug on it.
Hugh, I don't know about you, but I can recall many a game going to see Celtic and Rangers play each other. And, you know, if it was the away fans who were there and a goal was scored, it was almost like in the old grounds when it wasn't the seated stadia, it was like a delay.
But there was a delay.
The ball hit the net,
and it was a gunshot. It was
just, all you could see, Ruffy, as you know, but all you could see was people jumping in each other's heads, and the noise would then go whoomph.
In the Scottish Cup final, if Rangers scored as well, you would get the dust cloud coming from underneath the covered terracing, because the Rangers terrace was covered, so there was dust there. And we were jumping up and down, you just see the dust rolling across the top of Hampden. It was like you know, Oklahoma Dust Bowl thing. These were you know, really big atmospheric conditions. I think there'll be a good atmosphere, you know, for Celtic walking out, and O'Reilly and others will be stunned to walk out at Celtic Park on Wednesday night. But for me, it's not the same.
No, absolutely not. Killed stone dead by that, and now we have to witness, you know, a heavily supported group at their home ground, and it just takes away what the game is all about and what football's all about. If you think otherwise, then listen, you're entitled to your opinion, but trying to explain to people is just incredible, Ruffy, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously never played in any of them, but I got a chance to go with you to watch them, and a couple of the times, as Hugh said, the whole stand was Celtic supporters, or the whole stand was Rangers supporters. And I know we like a bit of banter in games, and I used to enjoy like half an hour before the game when both sets of fans were in full flow, singing this song and sing good songs they should be singing. And the banter was great.
Yeah. What was the biggest atmosphere you ever played in, Ruffy? Ever? What would you say?
It has to be the Maracana, and I think maybe 140,000. I mean, there obviously wasn't any Scotland supporters in at the time, but I mean, it was a.
How did Anfield though? How did Anfield?
No, Anfield was all Scottish supporters.
That's what I'm saying. How did that match up?
I would say Wembley would beat that. I think Wembley would beat that, because you know, we had like 70,000 supporters down there, and I keep telling them, bring photographs in of that. You've got some of them. It's just unbelievable, walking up that tunnel, just walking up that, you can't see anything, all you can hear is a noise, you can't see who's there or what's there, and as you walk up gradually and you get to the top, it all just hits you, and then you've got to walk to the halfway line for the dignities and shake hands. You just want the game started, but they're all derby games. Anybody's played in derby games as well, it's just tremendous.
Yeah, if you walk out the tunnel, there'll be I don't think there'll be any shaking hands. It'll just be that cacophony of noise. It'll be crazy. But with all the things that we've thrown up there, Ruffy, give us your prediction.
As I said earlier, I'm going to go for a one each draw. I think Celtic are under strength. I don't think Rangers will give away the 3 goals that they gave away at the weekend. I think that was a one-off. I do think Alan McGregor will play, and he will make an important save, and I think Joe Hart will have to make important saves in the other one. So for me, it's game of 2 goalies for me, and I'm going to go one each.
Yep, Ruffy, I have to say it's something I agree with, Hugh. I agree with them. I'm not sitting on the fence. The reason why is because I don't think Celtic have got what you would consider their full strength side. I think they're dangerous going forward. I think it's lazy for people to suggest that they're weak at the back now, because slowly but surely that back line is starting to get clean sheets. I think they're getting better. It can still be breached on the night, but I think Rangers have got more about them, with the experience of the champions going to Celtic Park and thinking, here's the game plan, we'll shut up shop, we'll do an old, what I call classic Walter Smith. We will soak up a bit of pressure, silence them for 15 minutes, and then get a draw.
I think that'll be their game plan. I think the game plan as well is when Celtic are in possession, we know that the fullbacks come inside, leave the wings. If they've got Diallo and Kent hugging the touchline, and that great expression of transition, but as you and I call winning the ball.
Yeah.
If you win the ball and you play it very quickly to Kent and Diallo, it's going to cause problems. I think if Celtic are to win, they have to capitalise on their chances early. They have to score early. They always come out, with the cavalry charge, the bugles going. I reckon if Celtic score early, they win the game.
Yep. Okay. There you have it. You've got your predictions on that one. Here's the fixtures. Of course, taking into consideration that we've got some cracking matches tonight. It's just brilliant. I mean, if you could have maybe 3 or 4 tellies on, you would be able to watch it all unfold. Dundee Derby, brilliant match to watch, and of course the whole city is buzzing in the northeast. Hibs against Hearts is just a brilliant derby. I love it, and I love going to both stadiums and just thoroughly soaking up that atmosphere in Edinburgh as well. Livingston, St Johnstone, Ross County, Aberdeen, and St Mirren against Motherwell. So suddenly, Dundee Derby, first of all, Ruffy, they did indeed get Zach Rudden in there, and I think James McPake is quite simply saying, listen, he's into it, he'll be thrown straight in.
Yeah, it won't faze him at all. He's that kind of boy, he can score goals. I think everybody will be interested if he can get up that level. I hope he can. I think he's a nice young lad. You like to see somebody progressing and doing well. He certainly will cause their back four a bit of trouble. He puts himself about, and when he's on his game, he's a hard one to handle. I remember we went down to Kilmarnock away from home, and we played him up front himself, and he gave the back four of Kilmarnock a torrid time. They didn't know what to do with him. So on his game, I think he will score goals, but Dundee are filling the bases. They try to get everybody. I think James McPake was trying to sign as many players, trying to get the boy from Motherwell, Ramsey. So he knows that the pressure's on. They need to win games, and particularly a game like this.
Yeah, 1 win in 8 games, but they come up against the Dundee United side. Their form is not much better. 2 wins in 9 for United. Although I have to say, Hugh, although they didn't really threaten the Celtic goal, they had some good possession, Dundee United. They play good football, a good mix of youngsters. They've got Kevin McDonald, which is a great story. 33, had a kidney transplant.
Incredible story.
Got him into the end of the season. I'm not sure he'll feature tonight, but nevertheless, if I was looking at, I think Dundee United might feel more confident.
Yeah, and they've got Nicky Clark as well, who's always, he's always worth a goal up front. The Dundee situation, every game there tonight is just like, there's a real good story behind it. And one of the things that looking at the bottom of the league now is there's that wee bit of detachment now, where Dundee and St Johnstone are just that little gap up now. And the teams that they're above about are doing so well, like Livingston, who I said would go down, that would have been my pick. They'll not go down now. I think they're quite. I think they've done enough almost already. That's exaggerating.
I think he said that today in the press. A win tonight and we're safe.
Yeah.
So that's sensational stuff from Livingston. But so it's getting to we're talking about 14 games to go, Peter, something like that.
Yeah, 15 maybe.
So we're talking about it's push and shove now, and I think Dundee really. They have to. This is a derby match. They'll be up for it. They've got good quality in the side. I'm going to take them to win narrowly.
Yeah,
narrowly 1-0.
Ruffy?
Yeah, I've went for them to win as well. I've went for them to win. I think it was 2-1.
Yeah. Dundee United?
No, Dundee.
Dundee to win at home, yeah. Okay, I think I've gone for Dundee United. I can't remember from the scores, Ruffy, but I'm certainly not going to be making the same mistake I made last week because I was first to post this morning because obviously we're re-nicknaming you and McManus the Snakes because in the background they just try and slither and create havoc in the predictor, Hugh. But we've got to try and make sure we keep our scores completely and utterly above board and on time.
It'll be far better. There'll be envelopes soon.
Yeah.
It'll be in an envelope. It'll be
well, to be fair,
locked away.
My scores are in an email, but it's in a firewall.
to be fair, Hugh, I don't mind envelopes as long as we don't go to the WhatsApp because there's the king of treachery. There you are, him and his cohorts. Only have to look back 2 years on your Google, you'll find Ruffy's name there. As far as Dundee United, give us your thoughts on the Dundee derby at Easter Road. It will be absolutely bouncing. Now, Jambos, 12 points of an advantage. They are statistically at the moment the better team. Is it fair to say, Ruffy, the Hibbies are in a little transition period with Sean Maloney?
I think they're still trying to get over Boyle. I don't think they've recovered to the shock of that happening. He's tried his best to bring people in to sort of take the supporters' minds off it, but it's just no worked. Obviously, the result of the weekend is not what you want to be having going into a derby game. I think Hearts is, at this moment in time, are the better side. And I wouldn't be surprised if Hearts won it, but I'm going to sit in the fence in this one and say it's a draw, I think.
Well, I'm amazed that you managed to get to that point. I don't understand your logic, but hopefully you'll explain it to me. Hearts are the better team going into it, and all the stats.
Home advantage.
So home advantage is suggesting to you.
To get back to crowds, how's the crowds in this one? Are Hearts fans allowed in full quota? No, it's just Hibs.
I think there's a reduced quota. Yeah, which again, started with. I'm not going to let her off. She started all this madness. But as far as the game is concerned, I look at Sean Maloney. I think there's a few people just getting a little bit irritated with him. But I'm thinking to myself, come on, give the guy time. He's brought 9 players into you.
Yep, and I only saw the highlights of the game on Saturday. They were completely undone by set pieces.
Yeah.
I mean, you could see that they were playing very bright, good possession, nice little triangles, just done.
Livingston at their best.
Yeah. Which is, hey, by the way, there's more than one way to play this game.
Well, I'll counter that by saying Livingston played some lovely football on the deck. But their two of the 3 goals were here it comes.
And that's allowed. It's within the rules, as I say. I think Hearts have been really improved this season. I've been impressed with them. We seem to forget that even by winning the championship, they were getting slaughtered by their fans every week. They were going to Alloa and getting beaten and things like that. I think Robbie Nielsen has really settled them down this season, playing well. And I've taken a Ruffy tablet.
Yeah.
Because all that logic suggests that I should say Hearts are going to win, but I've got some reason, and I can't really explain it. I'm sorry to the viewers, there's no science behind this. I think Hibs will just nick it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm going Hibs to nick it.
You're going beyond
I've taken 2 Ruffy tablets instead of just the one.
Well, I'm going to agree with Hugh Scott, who's a regular contributor to our programme. He reckons Dundee United will win, and he also reckons that the Jambos are going to win. And I agree with you, Hugh. I just think, they're a better side at the moment, better footballing players, and 4 wins in the last 5 against a Hibs side that have got 2 wins in the last 5, and let's not forget, I think Cove Rangers could have actually taken them in the cup game as well. I just get the feeling that the Jambos will nick it by the odd goal. We shall see. So you two are at least favouring something for the Hibbies. I'm suggesting they're going to get nothing. Give us your thoughts on that. Don't forget, we've got a competition coming up. I'll be playing the details of it very shortly for you. What a chance you've got to join us. We're going to be out there at our friends at Social Recluse. We've teamed up with the, I was going to say they're a kind of a clothing company, Retro Clothes, but you can also get some fantastic little bits of memorabilia to do with music as well. It's a brilliant shop, so much so that hopefully Hugh, myself, Ruffy, Tam Cowan and Tam McManus will be out there for a special evening with some invited guests, and hopefully you and your pal. We're giving you the chance to win a couple of tickets to come and join us, and and there'll be goodies there for you when you get there as well to take away, because it's a great shop in King Street in Glasgow. If you're ever in the area, if you're not from Glasgow and the surrounding area and you're ever down looking for it, King Street, and you'll be able to see some of the great stuff. And the good news is, from today, Hugh, I'm glad you're wearing it, from today in the shop they are actually putting in our merchandise.
Great.
So you'll get the Legends t-shirts, you can get your Larson, your Ronaldo, you can get the Maestro training tops, it's all there, and canvases and prints as well.
Oh, good, because I might go in and get one of my Maradona ones, a print for the old bedroom wall. I've got the Maradona t-shirt, so...
Yeah. Brilliant. So there you are. We'll give you details of that competition shortly. But what about Livingston against St Johnstone? Saints have brought in 12 players. Callum Davis has completely transformed the cup-winning side. It's like, thanks, but no thanks. I need to get results.
They need to get goals. They need to get a goal. They need to score first. They need to get a bit of confidence in that team. I think Livy will be buoyant after going to Easter Road. We always say it's hard to win at Livy, and I think it will be hard for St Johnstone to win at Livy. And I think I went Livy 2-1.
Yeah, are you going for Livy to win this one? Yeah, I think I've gone Livy to win it as well. 3 wins out of the last 4 games. David Martindale has, as you rightly pointed out, taken them away from an area where I think I had them relegated with Motherwell in the playoff at the start of the season, and it's changed dramatically.
Absolutely, and fair play to them. Because they've been through little sticky patches in the season this season where you thought, maybe it's beginning to crack now, but immediately come back, being resilient. I think they'll beat St Johnstone tonight. I think St Johnstone Big Stook.
Yeah, okay. And the last game that we're going to talk about is Ross County against Aberdeen. Now, we started off with a footballer who is obviously courted a lot of opinion on our feet here and right across Scottish football today, which is David Goodwillie, and whether Raith Rovers should have actually signed him at the age of 32. Of course, he was involved in a civil court case where the judge proclaimed that the probability was that he was involved in a rape, and he had to pay compensation. So that really has, I think, irked people. Some people, the majority, I think, wondering why Raith Rovers signed him in the first place. And then the flip side of this is Ross County against Aberdeen. I have great sympathy for another issue, which is, I think, tarnishing the image of our game and the UK as a whole, Ruffy, which is racism. Regan Charles Cook has suffered it on social media. He came out and mentioned it, and it's never going to go away, Ruffy. It's just how we actually police it that's the big question. It's all about percentages now and how you catch them.
Yeah, we've already spoke about it on the show, and you have been very vocal in saying it has to change and there has to be a name beside these, whatever they're called, tweets or whatever.
Yeah.
These people have to be identified, and they have to know that they're going to be identified if they tweet anything like that, and you punish them, and you punish them severely, and then you hope that it'll get through to all the other nutcases that this is what's going to happen to me if I continue to do this to certain individuals.
Hugh, the boy himself is a good player. I really like watching him. I think both he and Hungbo are good players, and they've added something to Ross County.
Absolutely, and see what you always been saying all the time, when you're down at that end of the table and you've got people that can do things positively, that can score goals, you're not just hanging on for a nothing each, not just like gritty, grinding out performances. You've got the ability to go up and score. I'm very surprised he's still there in the transfer window. I thought 1 or 2 might have had a look at him.
Yeah, there were 2 or 3 sniffing about him.
But I mean, Roy, the chairman there, is Roy McGregor. He doesn't need to sell. He's the exact opposite. He's all about keeping Ross County in that division, all about keeping the splendid infrastructure up there. And we go on again to sort of bring the conversation right round again. There was complaints about Malky Mackay getting that job as well.
Absolutely, yes,
so
it's a great point.
There's a cultural shift there as well, and what he has done in a sheer footballing sense is he's really turned that club round. I mean, if you're just taking the sheer football, the way they play, enterprising, going for it, scoring goals, good talent. hats off to him for his coaching.
Yeah, absolutely. And they come up against an Aberdeen side that, here's an interesting point that a few Dons fans were mentioning. They're not happy. They've got Adam Montgomery on loan from Celtic. They're not happy, Ruffy. I think a lot of Dons fans saying, why are we developing a player that could go back to Celtic? Where's our youth policy? And I think that's a very good point.
Yeah, I'm sure every club loves their academy or whatever you want to call it. They want to see, players promoting into the first team. There's nothing better, but maybe at this time there isn't any. That might, sometimes it's swings and roundabouts. Motherwell used to turn out 4 and 5 a year for 2 or 3 years, and then it dried up a wee bit. Maybe there is nobody coming through at this precise moment in time. They've got 2 young fullbacks that I suppose have come through. So maybe in that particular position they don't have anybody. Yeah.
As far as this game is concerned, Aberdeen lost to St Mirren, and we heard from Andrew Shiney, our North East reporter, on the performance of Aberdeen. He says it was the worst performance he'd seen in many a year from a Don side. So Stephen Glass is well aware of the problems. You just don't know what you're going to get, and he's not taking for granted that they'll win this match because their away form is woeful.
If we don't sort it out, we'll find ourselves sliding down the table pretty quick. But we know there's winnable games for us. Obviously, the teams that are sitting at home believe the same thing as always. But it's important that we go and tackle the game, be as positive as we can, and be difficult to play against and hard to beat. And fingers crossed we come out this week with 6 points.
Yeah, okay. I think I've gone for a draw, Ruffy. I can't split them.
Well, this is my Ruffy midweek conundrum. Ross County impressed with everything they're doing. Impressed with them at the weekend. Gifted 3 goals. I think we'd all agree on that. But they'd certain players who played well. I think they are goal scorers in the league. What, 4th top goal scorers?
Yeah, 3rd maybe.
3rd. And but I think this is the midweek surprise. I think Aberdeen are going to do something tonight. I'm going to go for Aberdeen. This is Aberdeen.
Hold on.
I know. I told you I was going to.
The midweek surprise is Ross County gub them, surely. Yeah. Not Aberdeen win.
No, Aberdeen. I think Ross County in the form they'll go into this game after Rangers. Think this is a given. But I think Aberdeen have still got something in them, and they're going to pull something out the bag tonight and give me 5 points.
Yeah. Suddenly it all becomes clear to us. Hugh, what do you make of that?
And just go for Ross County, just for 2 reasons. There's goals in Ross County, and the second reason, Aberdeen have been deeply unconvincing away from home. I think I'm not going to join in the criticism or the heavy criticism of Stephen Glass quite yet. I think he's trying to change things around. He's trying to get his own people in, and I think that's a big blow as well, losing Hedges.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to join us, by the way, we have a wee bit of chat, a bit of banter. The gathering on the 10th of February. Here's how you and your pal could be joining us. It's no surprise who's going to be rising. It's sooner or later. Join us for an evening of football, fashion and music. PLZ Soccer and Social Recluse are teaming up at King Street in Glasgow, and you and your partner could be here joining in the event on Thursday the 10th of February. All you have to do is answer this simple question: in which year was World in Motion a World Cup song? Put your answers down below and you and your partner could be joining us for a special evening with PLZ Soccer and Social Recluse. I think you're going to spend a few quid in that shop, Hugh. I'm like that myself, and every time I go in, I'm trying to hold back and getting the wallet out.
Yeah, I know. I'm a sucker for all that football memorabilia stuff. And one of the things I've been doing, Ruff, is going around. Wee job at the moment is going around lower league grounds to watch games. Like Annan, and I was at Banks of Dee. And in the house already, there's this pile of scarves. I just keep buying up. I've got a Banks of Dee scarf lying next to a Red Bull Leipzig scarf, next to a Union Berlin, next to an Annan Athletic one. It's an addiction. My last addiction.
Hugh, I nearly fell off the couch there. I thought you were going to say a Union Bears one there.
No, it's on the mantelpiece. It's not in a wee pile.
Brilliant. Listen, just before we go, we always like to look forward to the big one in Glasgow. I love the Edinburgh derbies as well. I love derbies because it's all about the fans, it's all about the banter, and I'm trying to think of some really great old firm games and goals that stick in my mind, Ruffy. For Celtic fans, I think one that sticks in their mind is undoubtedly Henrik Larsson's in the 6-2 when he chipped Stefan Klos, which is absolutely incredible. I know, and I'm going to say this, knowing that I'll get a bit of criticism for it, but for me, the best Old Firm goal I've seen up there, and the reason why I'm saying I'm going to get criticism, because it's quite a few years back, so a lot of people, younger people, might look and say, well, Barry Ferguson's in the cup final when Rangers won 3-2, but for me, the best goal I've seen scored by a Rangers player in any game was Davy Cooper in the Drybrough Cup
final.
Yeah, I mean, and the funny thing about it was great because Sandy Jardine, who was a good pal of mine, and we worked together at Radio 4th, he was my co-commentator. And I always remember the first days I was with him, and I says, Coop's goal was just outrageous. And he said to me, he says, I really, that goal annoys me. And I says, what are you annoyed for? He says, if you look back on that Drybrough Cup final, Peter, he says, I picked the ball up in my own half. He says, I was past 2 or 3 players, and he says, and I've scalped one into the roof of the net. He says, it's a great goal. He says, and all I can think about, Ruffy, as you selfish footballers usually do, is the press will be interviewing me. I'll be all over the back pages. He says, it'll be absolutely magnificent how Jardine won the cup for Rangers. He says, and then Coop gets the ball, pops it over 3 Celtic players' heads, takes it on his chest, side foots it into the back of the net, and walks away as if it was a 5-a-side game.
That was the best Rangers goal I've seen. And I've watched that derby since the 60s until now, and saw great goals from both sides. Saw really strange goals from both sides as well. I mean, can anybody forget the Tam Forsyth winners, 1973 Scottish Cup final, 3-2.
Well, Hugh Scott has just mentioned there, Lovencrans in the last minute.
The last minute.
They're the best goals, Ruffy, because you know there's no way back.
Yeah, but Hugh mentioned the Tom Forsyth. It was just a look in his face when he'd realised what he'd done. He'd hit off one of his studs and went in.
Just got the stud and over the line.
He was away.
And if you look at that derby as well, you look back at the calibre of the player that was playing then. You would have Dalglish and Deans and Connolly, I think, for Celtic, and amongst others, and Rangers would have, I'm sure,
Parlane, Derek Johnson, John Gregg, they were all on that side.
I mean, Parlane scored that day as well. Quinton Young.
There's a great name. I was speaking to Alex McLeish, and we were talking about these things, and one of the things that I always think about with Alex McLeish is interviewing him trackside, and then the guy who scored the winning goal for Rangers at Hampden, Bert Conterman. I mean, and I think it was the semi-final. It might have been. He hit an absolute screamer from about 25 yards. And then, of course, listen, there are all sorts of great games that you can think of, but Lubomir Moravcik as well, Ruffy, ran riot at Ibrox one day for Celtic fans.
Yeah, that's what you want somebody on your side to do something special. You need, when you go to an Old Firm game, you need somebody who's got that wee bit of magic that can win the game for you, and certainly Rangers and Celtic now have got certain players that can turn that on and do something special.
Just the guys at the time, I mean, Rangers supporters will be living in memories of McCann at Celtic Park, Gorham, wherever they played, the saves. Look, Albert's standing over a free kick, Davy Cooper standing over a free kick as well. I mean, and Celtic fans have been, in the history of Celtic, is there Dembele scoring all the time, but is there a more iconic goal than the Larsson goal, outside obviously the European goals? Is there a more iconic goal for Celtic than Larsson's?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of people mentioning so many great players that have been associated with this game. Obviously, we want people to go, enjoy the game, come back without any fear of abuse or hurt, and then the bits of banter. Because the one good thing, Hugh, that doesn't always get mentioned is there are a lot of Rangers Celtic fans who work together, can have a laugh, can share the banter of it. It's difficult to get into work sometimes for some people because they have to face their mates.
Yeah, but the thing about football, and I think it is important, is because of that personal interaction. That's why the whole thing it's how important it is to you and how important it is to other people, and when that collides, it can produce great fears and tensions and downbeat reactions, but it produces incredible joy and elation as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's incredible. One of my old mates, if his side lost the Glasgow derby, if we came in the same car, he would not take a lift back.
No.
He would walk to Shawlands because he felt so strongly about it. And I thought to myself, well, if you want to walk, on you go.
There you go.
Fire in there. That's the joy of it all. Anyway, I hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoy the games, whichever one you decided to go to. Dundee Derby, I'm looking forward to hearing what Charlie has to say about the Dundee Derby when he's on the show tomorrow. If you get a chance, don't forget to hit the subscribe button on our PLZ Soccer YouTube channel. You can download the PLZ Soccer app. Thank you to the so many people have sent us messages on the app saying that they enjoy it, that keeps them up to date with all the breaking stories. It's not just about featuring the football show. There's news from the English Premier League, European football and world football. You can watch the show if you miss it on the app as well, so it'll keep you up to date. And you can also actually download it. You can listen to any podcast on the app as well. It's got that. So there's lots of brilliant features that I think you'll enjoy. If you do get a chance and you've got a bit about you, on the app there's a section called Submissions. You can record yourself and give us your thoughts on the games tonight, or indeed Celtic against Rangers. If we use it on the programme, then we'll send you something a wee bit special. Okay, so there we are, kept up to date with everything. You can look at our Facebook page and our Twitter to find out more about how you can join us on the 10th of February at Social Recluse in King Street in Glasgow. But from Hugh, Ruffy and myself, Peter Martin, thanks for watching.